What's up, everybody? It's been a minute. Turn of the new year. Get back on the saddle. I'll ramble about that after the reading. Hi. Welcome, as always, to Some Idiot Reads, where, equally as always, I'm Cy, I'm some idiot, and it's time to read. Today, we are going right back into the Dispatches from Appalachia by the phenomenal Coyote Wallace. I think I had a description, like an adjective form at one point, and my brain just lost it. It's like a steel sieve. But Coyote has, since my last reading, pumped out 3 additional dispatches. And we're going to go with the most recent one, because none of these are positive, but they are topics that do need addressed. And it looks like of those 3, the most recent one has definitely gotten some traction, as it rightfully should, given the title. As ever, before we dive in, if you are not currently following him on Medium, make sure go to the link in the description, go to his Medium page, and hit that following link or follow button right over here. I believe it's usually green when you're not actually following. Give him a follow, go to the article directly, give it all the love. You know the drill. And if you don't, I'll go over it at the end. But let's dive on in. Gun Thuggery. The murder of Alex Pretti by the low men of I.C.E. As the caption says, let's do this. The worst winter storm in decades is battering the world outside of my drafty trailer as I type these words at nearly 4 a.m. I am broke, hungry, cold enough that I can't feel my toes, and sustained only by a single crappy propane heater. All across Appalachia, folks are hunkered down in hoping that the power... All across Appalachia, folks are hunkered down and hoping that the power doesn't go out, as the ice on power lines outside gets heavier and heavier. If I'm lucky, tomorrow I'll wake up and find the water has at least not frozen off, and I can scrounge an extra propane tank. But I'm not scared of the storm tonight, Coyote fam. Like the people of Minnesota, who filled the streets today despite temperatures so cold they make Stephen Miller's heart seem warm, I'm not going to let the cold stop me from saying what I need to say, and I don't want to let it stop you either. I'm madder than a hornet, my friends, and I know that many of you reading this are just as mad as I am. Pictured, it's cold out there. Appalachia's history is rife with the presence of what we call gun thugs, armed men with badges paid by the government to kill, rape, beat, and harass immigrants and black folks who dared to organize their communities. That is what a gun thug is. That is the definition of the term. And today, the modern gun thug, better known as the ICE agent, has slain an innocent man in the streets for the crime of helping a young woman that they knocked to the ground back to her feet. I cannot abide gun thuggery, Coyote fam. The thought of such practices, once the scourge of my people, now inflicted on all corners of America, boils my blood. Already, ICE brutally murdered Renee Good, a mother and kind woman who dared to oppose them. Now they've executed another kind soul, Alex Pretti. And their blood demands not just answers for the crime of the Iceman, but action. For we are tired of seeing our people killed in the streets. I will not be kind tonight. I will not speak cleanly, for I shall be addressing dirty sons of bitches. This is America, you rotten fascists. And we don't traffic in the execution of our citizens in the streets without there being a reckoning. This is the land of the free. No matter how badly that promise is abused or tarnished, that promise still means something here. You ice boys, your ancestors, came to our mountains with your fancy tin badges and your hearts full of murder. They beat us, they bombed us, they gassed us, they starved us, and they stood upon our throats and tried to strangle the very breath of decency out of our lungs, only to be turned back by the Redneck Army. Now, you invade our cities. You run rampant like rabid dogs. And you expect us to not recognize you for what you are. You're not lawmen. You're not men at all. You are gun thugs, and I name you as such. Pictured, shit sticks together in clumps. These are the words of Coyote Wallace. This is the Dispatches from Appalachia. And I'm some idiot just reading. And tonight, with snow in the air, my breath dancing in front of the screen, and blood on the streets, we're talking about gun thuggery, the murder of Alex Pretti by the low men of ICE. And Mama, you're going to have to forgive me, because there will be cussing. Fill your hands. Killing for dollars. The origin of the gun thug. Pictured, as previously stated, shit sticks together in clumps. Now, before we begin addressing the modern crisis and the senseless murder of a good man, I would like to take a moment to educate those of you who may be new to, or confused by, the term gun thug. My work as a historian and author has brought me to the realization that the term does not often escape our mountains, and so many of you may be unfamiliar with it or unsure of what it means. As a quick aside, I myself, not from Appalachia, that was not a term I was even remotely familiar with before reading Coyote's works. I have been burdened with this unfortunate knowledge. That is not a complaint. That's just trying to use a little levity of unpleasant words. But no, I didn't know about it prior. It definitely was, at least from my perspective as a poor Florida boy, wasn't something I had ever heard about. So thank you for sharing that awareness and for also taking the time to set aside and explain what that is. Let's carry on. As I intend to be using that word quite a bit, it seems only proper that I take a moment to explain it so that we are all on the same page. The term gun thug was originally coined by the miners of Appalachia for the members of the Baldwin Felts Detective Agency and other hired killers employed by the forces of the oligarchy that oversaw the coal industry. Those who brought them here, the robber barons of the coal industry, known as King Coal, needed hitmen who were loyal to no moral creed and willing to engage in conduct that even the Pinkertons balked at. They needed killers, brutes, and triggermen to carry out their vision of creating an Appalachia where immigrants kept their mouths shut, black folks didn't make a fuss, and women like Mother Jones knew to stay in the kitchen and out of men's labor affairs. Pictured. More shit, this time in blue. They found more than willing partners in the Baldwin Felts detectives, brought to the region at the very beginning of the 1900s. These men, unlike the Pinkertons, specialized in disrupting the efforts of immigrants and Black Americans to organize their communities into labor movements. They used tactics such as lynchings, beatings, the dynamiting of houses, and indiscriminate shootings to keep those their masters wished obedient down in the dirt. They were paid $400 a month, a generous sum at the time, to murder our people and keep them disobedient. During the time of the first gun thugs, just as today with ICE, the streets were full of men and women protesting the inhumane treatment of their people. Just as today, the gun thugs always chose to answer these protests with violence rather than restraint. They locked up men without trial in Mingo. They murdered Sid Hatfield in Welch. They locked up sweet Mother Harris Jones for reading the Constitution aloud at Paint Creek. They jailed Aunt Molly Jackson for singing songs. They barred the speaking of foreign tongues. They strode our streets with rifles and machine guns in hand, assured of their place in the universe by the badges pinned to their chests by crooked administration after crooked administration. They dropped bombs on our heads and poison gas on our children using Black Death number 5. They burned Polish and black children alive in pits with their mothers at Ludlow, Colorado. Pictured. They boarded an armored train dubbed the Bull Moose Special and fired their weapons into the sleeping masses of Paint Creek with the intention of killing as many as they could, and would have succeeded if not for the sacrifice of Francesco Estep. They entered homes without warrants and tossed immigrant, poor, and black families alike into the streets to freeze and starve for daring to demand safe working conditions, fair wages, and a chance to raise their families in safety. They were given the legal authority of U.S. Marshals, operated without oversight, and were allowed to do with our ancestors as they pleased. They called us names like Tinker Pink, Coal Wop, and Pit Pole, and many more. They were cast-off Johnny Rebs and blood-drunk Billy Yanks alike, and they took pleasure in the grand adventure of our oppression. Bill Blizzard and the Redneck Army fought them at Blair Mountain. Frank Keeney and his forces fought them at Tug Valley. Sid Hatfield fought them in the streets of Mattawan with 2 pistols and a prayer. Pictured, Sid Hatfield looks like he has the same opinion of ICE as Coyote. And me. Our people battled them on the roads that ran through bloody Harlan and the backwoods of Breathitt County. And they were defeated. A gun thug, to put it simply, is a man who will kill another at the behest of the oligarchy for money, with no consideration at all for whether his victim has done anything deserving of death. A gun thug is a low man, a man without honor, without kin, without the courage to stand alone or refuse the commands of his master. The gun thug is the sneaking, biting dog, the red right hand of the boss man, the boot that stomps you when you are down. The gun thug is loved by none, hated by all, and only knows pleasure when he is counting the money he has made killing his fellow man. If that sounds familiar, it's because they didn't go away. They just changed uniforms and evolved into something worse. Ice cold murder. Pictured, Alex Pretti, murdered by ice. Just as was the case with Renee Good, I will not be walking you step by step through the murder of this man. Alex Pretti was killed today, about a week ago as of the time of this recording. Shot while helping a young woman to her feet and recording video on his phone. He was no threat to the ICE agents. He was not dangerous. He was not radical or extreme in his beliefs. That is enough, and there will be no entertaining the idea that there is anything this man could have done in that situation that warranted his death at the hands of these trigger-happy fucking maniacs. I added the fucking for emphasis. Did he have a gun? Yes. But that firearm had been removed from his person, and it was not in his possession when he was shot. This is America, and even those of us who advocate for gun control are forced to tolerate men carrying firearms in nearly every corner of society. The Second Amendment, for all the trouble it has caused, is still part of the Constitution, and it is still the right of American citizens to own, and, with proper permits and within legal limits, carry a firearm. Rather than analyze Alex Pretti's death further, I would like to take this time to speak of what we know about the man himself and briefly celebrate his good works and those whose lives he touched. His family and friends mourn him. They have that which mattered most to them stolen by these gun thugs that call themselves ICE. But the hatred and heartbreak these agents inflict upon the people of our nation are not stronger than the righteous fury of justice or the indomitable spirit of love. Pictured, a man murdered by ICE. Alex Pretti was 37 years old, 3 years younger than Coyote, 5 years younger than me. 5? 5. And far too young to be taken from this world. While I do not know his mother or father, and cannot speak to his childhood, from the footage we have all seen, it is clear that he was raised decent and good. He was the sort of man who, if he saw a young woman being pushed around by goddamn brutes, would stop and try to help her. Alex Pretti was the type of man I hope I would be if I witnessed a pack of armed thugs spraying chemicals into the eyes of a woman who posed no threat to them. That means he was raised right by whoever taught him how to be a man, and that puts him heads and shoulders above every ICE agent in the field. Alex graduated from the University of Minnesota in 2011 with a bachelor's degree in biology, society, and environment. He wanted to understand how the world worked and use what he learned to make it better for all of us. He had curiosity. He had a desire to understand the world. Alex was an outdoorsman. He enjoyed biking and possessed an understanding of the complex interconnectivity of life that comes with the study of the life sciences. Alex Pretti was murdered by ICE. He enjoyed learning, and, more importantly, learning through experience. Like my daughter, Alex Pretti was a nurse and dedicated his life to helping others. By all accounts, he was gentle and hardworking, bringing smiles to the faces of his coworkers even when the workload was heavy and the days were grim. Again, like my own daughter, he made his living not by tearing lives apart, as the ICE agent does, but by healing and mending those who had been broken. The quality of his character was so far above those ICE agents that his entire life was spent helping others. I cannot imagine that my own child would have behaved any differently, for I have never met a single nurse who, on some level, was not committed to the preservation of life or capable of turning away from suffering. And these rotten sons of bitches murdered this young man in the streets, and then, after they had killed him, their craven, disingenuous masters rushed in front of television cameras to slander him. They told lies. They spun the story. They wanted as many people in America as possible to believe that he was a villain, a terrorist, or some sort of criminal fiend. Alex Pretti was not the victim of an accident. Alex Pretti is not a case of wrong place, wrong time. Alex Pretti, age 37, member of a labor union, ICU nurse, veterans care volunteer, and, if I may be so bold as to assume, a damn fine son, because by God in heaven above, may we all go to our Maker while helping someone else, was murdered by the modern-day gun thugs who call themselves ICE. Not killed. Murdered. Giving voice to the voiceless. Pictured a vigil for Alex Pretti, who was murdered by ICE. I have no answers that will soothe those of you who are hurting tonight. And I have no means to give those of you who, returning home cold and battered from the fight, warm yourselves by the fire while shedding tears for Alex Pretti. Answers in this time of sorrow would likely be given with too much fire and too much anger to do any of you much good. I wish that I could, though, and I wish that I could take that pain away from all of you who are hurting in the wake of what has happened. I have no money to give his family, and I have no means of pursuing justice for this man. Like a lot of you, if I am telling the truth, I feel mighty helpless in a world where light is snuffed out so casually and cruelly by those who have fallen in love with their own authority. All that I can give him and all that I can give you is my words. Lord, let my words be enough for now. First, let me address ICE and their supporters, for if I do not spit this venom from my mouth, it will surely poison me At the risk of revealing the limitations of my own literary talent, fuck you. Fuck you. How's that for the first words out the gate? You low, shameless, cowardly bastards. How dare you? Do you have no honor? Do you have no compassion or decency in your hearts? Do you not have mothers, you godless sons of bitches? I know your ranks are filled with the worst of the worst. We're all aware of the lowered standards and rushed hiring processes that ICE uses. Yet I cannot but help ask myself, is there not one of you who would stand up and do the right thing? Are you so cowardly, so utterly feckless, and lacking the bare minimum of empathy and goodness that makes up a man, that none of you would try to stop your fellows from executing someone? How do you not vomit when you look at yourselves in the mirror? How do your fathers not look at you and turn their faces away in disgust? How do your mothers keep from weeping at what their sons have become? History and justice are not just words. History will remember you for what you are, and you will never know a hero's welcome or a warm embrace that you can truly trust. The identities you hide behind your masks will come out. The records of your service shall be exposed. And many years from now, when America's streets are once more peaceful, when our diversity is celebrated, when little babies are not torn from the arms of mothers and young women are not thrown to the ground by packs of armed men, Alex Pretti will be remembered as a hero. His face will appear on murals. The people of Minnesota will remember him. The people of America will remember him. The people who loved him will remember him, and the smiles and warmth that he brought with them. And history will remember you as well. You will be recalled like the Night Riders of the Klan. Your names will be spat like those of horrid Nazis our grandfathers put in the ground in Europe. And your deeds will be taught as examples of what kinds of men must never again be allowed to roam among us. History will curse your foolish hides, and America will move on from the nastiness and butchery with which you have become synonymous. And so, too, will justice. For though justice is blind and moves slowly in our flawed nation, justice is not dead. No. The law may be subverted, but justice will prevail in the end, and you will face those you have hurt. You will know the fear of being hunted by men with badges. You will know the desolation of the cage, the sorrow of the chain, and the long, lonely emptiness of nights spent with your name stripped away and replaced by a number. You are not above justice. You're not really above anything, for that matter. The more you show us your true nature, the more our people, the people of America, who for too long have sat quietly and who have, in their hearts, felt the reawakening of a thirst for liberty, will rise to meet your challenge. You have guns, we have numbers. You've got the billions of dollars, we've got the boldness. Oh, you have the president. Good luck, old sons. We have the people. Lay down your guns, lay down your badges, take off your masks. If you do that, if you leave your gun thuggery behind, there's a chance you may forestall what is to come. You may live out your lives in freedom rather than in a cell. But if you stay, know this: your fate will mirror that of the Gestapo when they stood trial. Gun thugs never win. They only delay victory. You've never won, and your kind never will, so long as good men and women rise to oppose you. Now, for the rest of you, I want you to know that no matter how dark this day is, we will overcome them. That is poor consolation to the family and loved ones of Alex Pretti. His death cannot be undone by sorrow or sentiment. But if it cannot be undone, then let it be the spark that galvanizes us. Let Alex Pretti's death stir you to political action, not for your sake, not even for the sake of our nation, but for the sake of your children and their children, who will one day ask what you did in this critical hour of our history. I believe that love and goodness are forces, real forces, in this world. And I believe that those forces are calling to us now. To those who feel, in their hearts, the soul of our nation struggling to survive. We must love deeper. We must hold tighter. And we must be unafraid to rise and meet the brutal challenges of this day. Let us be the America we know we can be. Not for ourselves, not even for Alex Pretti, but so that our children may grow up in a world where they do not have to fear his fate. Do you not feel it? Surging in the streets of Minnesota, building in the streets of Philadelphia. Do you not hear it? That distant din of raised voices, growing louder and louder until they become one voice, demanding freedom and justice for all. And do you not see it? That light rising from the dark depths. Candle flames, lit in vigil, glowing with the intensity of Lady Liberty's torch itself. If there are gods, they watch us now, as the rest of the world watches with bated breath, waiting to see the measure of our nation in this crucible. Our judgment will not be how much money we had, nor how many lovers we bedded, nor how fine a home sheltered us. No. Our judgment will be this moment, and whether we proved worthy of the promise of freedom that those who came before us once defended against tyranny. But as surely as the sun rises over the mountains, as frost melts beneath the morning light, and darkness is dispelled by dawn, we will overcome these brutal men. We will shine so brightly that their hatred dries up like an old stain, and they are scattered to the wind. We will make it through this dark forest. We will be one nation again. And we will rid ourselves, just as Appalachia once did, of the gun thugs and their paymasters. They will knock us down, but we will get back up. They will beat us blue, but we will get up. They will kill, arrest, stomp, trample, and intimidate, but we will still keep getting up. For my kin, for your kin, and for the generations yet to come, and for all the people around the world who look upon our blood-stained nation and wonder if this land has ever known heroes at all. We will keep getting up. Solidarity forever. That is an excellent piece. Fuck. It's really... I don't have much in the way that I can add on this one. I'm going to say to every one of you that listened through this, first, thanks for sticking around. Second, if you enjoyed this, as before, make sure you give a follow to Coyote. Also, go to the article itself and give it a clap. Add one more to the numbers. Boost the signal of this. Because this is a topic that needs to be screamed, frankly. The overreach is real. And I'm going to be very circumspect with what I say in regards to the entire topic, because I'm fiery and I know little restraint in some ways, so I'm going to, other than a little restraint other than a full stop, so I'm going to keep a lot of my commentary chill at the moment. I haven't had enough coffee to be able to catch myself from being loquacious. In potentially unpleasant ways. But go to the article. Give Coyote a follow. Give him a clap. Not the clap. I don't know if he's ever had that, but if he has, I'm sure he doesn't want it again. And then also right here, you got this little button. Let's go take over to his Ko-Fi page where you can go give a tip. They help immensely. Seriously. The tips go directly to him. I don't get anything for these other than a good feeling of trying to help out a friend of mine with his craft and keep the home fires burning. Go get him a tip. Help him out. Seriously. Not even help. If you appreciated this article, help keep words, truth to word, coming out. Further Appalachian history, coverage of this sort of a thing. Toss it on in, guys. Jar's right over there, and I will also have a link in the description. And leave a comment as well. I'm going to give it a minute here. I got to think about that, and whether there's anything I feel I need to add. It's a fucked up state of affairs in America today. I wish I could say that it surprises me. It doesn't. This sort of thing is a long time coming, and it happens when we don't stand up to bullies and brutes. Fucking, it's a lesson that Chamberlain learned back in Britain in World War II, back at that time. Neville tried to make peace with bullies. Didn't fucking work. Didn't work then, doesn't work now. It's never fucking worked. There's not a brighter, more energetic note on this one that I can go ahead and toss out. So, as much as it's good to be back in the saddle doing some reading, I'm going to go ahead and call it here, guys. You all take care. And share this video, or more importantly, share Coyote's article. And catch you all later. Deuces.